Hello everyone and welcome back to the Red Door Yoga Mini Sutra series online. Today I wanted to talk about stopping telling yourself unhelpful stories. Okay, so, a little bit ago, not too far in the distant past, I started listening to scary real stories on YouTube. I paint a lot, and so I like to usually listen to 80s music, but I thought at one point in time, I'm like, these are interesting stories. I'm going to listen to these stories. A lot of them were about ghost stories or, the possibility of alien existence and that type of thing. They were entertaining. They were interesting. I quite enjoyed them. However, after a little bit of listening to these stories on a regular basis, I did notice that my mind became overly active with the material. And that meant that I could be, headed to bed in the middle of the night, and I noticed that I was a little bit more heightened, observing the world around me, that the possibility of certain things would occur to me, things that were not helpful, things that would cause stress responses, not allow me to trust the world as much around me, etc. And so I started to realize that because I was listening to these stories in a bit of a concentrated way over, a week or two, that it was actually starting to change my thought processes in a direction that wasn't helping me. And so my point is, all of us have unhelpful stories. I was inputting my unhelpful stories, okay? And is it a bad idea to ever listen to those stories? No, it's not. It's perfectly fine, okay? The problem was that this was actually concentrated, and so I was listening to story after story after story, because when I paint, I paint for several hours at a time. And so it was just kind of habituating my mind to thinking about these things, these scary story ideas. And so we all have stories that we tell ourselves, that we habituate our minds with. Things that we say, I don't want to feel angry, but I'm thinking about this person and this experience that occurred, and then I start thinking about this other person or this other experience, and that becomes like listening to those ghost stories over and over and over. I call them ghost stories. They're not all ghost stories, okay? And I had the ability to notice that this was causing an issue for my mind, that I was actually becoming less, what we call in yoga, sattvic, less calm, less centered, less focused, and I was starting to agitate my mind. So I was able to notice that, and then I had the ability to say, these are unhelpful, I'm going to stop telling myself these stories, I'm going to stop listening to these stories. But you can do that as well with the stories you tell yourself, okay? You need to notice how those stories that you keep repeating in your head, how they're not helping you. You need to notice the effect they're having on you. And then you need to be disciplined enough to say, I'm doing it again, just like I'm inclined to, listen to that story or this new one that's come up. And I know where this leads to, so I'm not going to do this. I'm going to choose not to do this. So for me, I'm going to choose not to listen to the stories. For you, if, in terms of a story you're telling yourself, you're going to choose to stop the story, move on to another story, move on to another thought process, move on to something that you feel grateful for, as opposed to something that you're upset about, past or present. Be grateful. Cultivate another mental aspect, a story that is helpful to you. I hope that was helpful. And thank you for joining me, everyone. If you'd like to join us for more guidance, join us in the Masterful Path. That is our mentorship program. I will be your teacher, and it's very structured. I have specific lessons I'm taking you through in that mentorship program. But I only open up the doors twice a year, and for 4 days at a time when I open the door. So if the doors are closed, there's a wait list there. Just join the wait list. The idea is that once we're about to open the doors, I'll send you an email to tell you that we're about to open the doors, okay? And once the doors are open, you can get the information on the program, and then you can join us, which we would love to have you, okay? Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Namaste.